Soul Simmers, and welcome back to a brand new speed build. In today's video, we are building something so exciting because we're making a cruise ship. As soon as Adventure Awaits came out, I immediately knew that I wanted to make a cruise ship. This was definitely one of the more challenging builds I've ever done because the game is not naturally very well made to actually build a ship. So I was very thankful that I was building this live on my Twitch stream because Twitch chat, as always, came in super clutch with all the ideas on how we could actually make the base of the ship actually look like a good ship. We initially started, as you can see, with trying to use this ginormous window, which was on its own a great idea, but the way that I was trying it here with sizing it up, I very quickly realized that that wouldn't work because it would clip on the inside and stuff. Also, sizing them up didn't really work because it created this really weird gap in the wall. So I ended up settling just making it basically like the normal size of the window. That meant that the sort of incline, or what is it called, like the diagonal part of the cruise ship would be less steep, but I figured out a way to make that work, I think. And in the end, I do feel really happy with the shape of the cruise ship, but that was definitely one of the more challenging parts. If you ever want to see builds like this happen real time, if you want to think along or if you have any suggestions, I can highly recommend coming to hang out in my Twitch streams. That's where basically this was built, but where I do many of my speed builds that you might see on this YouTube channel, because I just love building with the help of chat, because to me, that always challenges my creative process. Chat always has some great ideas that I didn't think of before, and then I feel like I learn a lot of new things building because chat challenges me to try out new things. So yeah, that was basically how we came up with this cruise ship shape. Right now, it doesn't look all that well just yet. I also, throughout the building process, eventually realized that right now it's more looking like a yacht than it's actually looking like a cruise ship. So we end up making it way longer throughout the entire building process, which also gave us a lot more space to add all the things into the build that I wanted to, because I wanted to make sure that this was a cruise ship that your Sims could visit, but not just visit, but actually when they were on a getaway here, that it would be like a space where your Sims could actually spend a couple of days, that it would be a proper space for a getaway for either a single Sim or a couple or a family. Everyone basically has to have enough activities in here for multiple days on a getaway. So I wanted to make sure to prioritize activities and making sure that there was a lot of things to do, from things like skill building as well as places where you could tell proper stories. So as you can see right now, this entire build has 4 floors. So that was the maximum, which was actually kind of a challenge because while I was building this, I really wanted to add a 5th floor because I thought in the beginning that would look better for the captain's quarters. But unfortunately, the game obviously doesn't allow a 5th floor, so we had to make it work with what we have over here right now. That was specifically a challenge when we were adding in the pool, because if you add a pool in The Sims, it basically, as it would in real life, it creates a big tank of water on the floor below, which meant that we basically had to sacrifice space on another floor to have this big pool of water in there, which initially I really didn't want to. So I was trying to basically add an additional floor that we could just have as the pool, but I couldn't actually make it work with all the other things that I wanted to add. And I just decided that, you know what, we're just gonna have a pool that is showing in one of the other floors. A next big challenge that you can see me working on here right now was adding all the stairs, because I wanted to make sure that this cruise ship had somewhat of a natural flow to it. I wanted to make sure that when you're visiting this cruise ship or when you're staying on this cruise ship, it actually made sense that you would actually go up and down the stairs on the front or on the back of the cruise ship and not in the middle, because in the middle is basically the part where we have all the rooms and all of those things. But then actually making that happen and making sure that the floor plan made sense was quite a challenge. The only thing that I'm not entirely happy with is we ended up adding the entrance on the bottom floor, which actually makes sense, I think. But that also means that if you enter the cruise ship, you do have a specific hallway, but after that, you're gonna have to go either left or right to go through a narrow hallway to find either sets of the stairs to actually go to the room. I think in a real cruise ship, you would probably have an elevator or something, but in The Sims, we do have elevators from City Living, but they wouldn't really work in a build like this, so I just decided to simply just go for stairs. Next to that, if you basically look at this build, like I said, we have 4 floors, and on the ground floor, we have all the main activities. So this is another thing, floor plan wise, that is somewhat weird, but I figured because you only technically enter the cruise ship while you arrive, and after that, you're just on the boat and it doesn't really matter. So basically on the ground floor where you also enter the cruise ship, that is where we have added all the main activities. This is where all of the different activity rooms, so-called, are basically located. So that's where you can find like the gym and stuff like that. Then on the second floor, we have all the bedrooms. I will tell a little bit more about how the bedrooms were decorated and like the philosophy behind that in a bit. But basically the second floor only has bedrooms and just a little bit of walking space and like a hallway. There is one shared space because eventually, you don't really see that right now, but later in the build, as I've already done like 90% of the building, I would say, I decided to make the cruise ship even longer, which all of a sudden added a bunch of space in the back of the cruise ship, which meant that I all of a sudden had extra room to add like common spaces and activities and stuff. So on the second floor, initially there were just bedrooms, but then, you know, my indecisiveness created a situation where we all of a sudden had more room that I had to fill. And then on the third floor, that is basically our main common space. So it's where we have our restaurant, our kitchen, a space for the performers. It's like the idea that this is where all of the guests would hang out in their, I don't know, like shared free time, so to say. I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise. I've only been on a cruise once, but we basically had this shared restaurant. I know that if you go on like really big cruises, you also have like separate restaurants and you can go eat in like different places and stuff. But the cruise that I went on was like a river cruise, and we basically had like one restaurant where everyone would go in the morning and the afternoon and the evening. And that was also a space with like a stage and stuff where people could perform. And it was basically the space where all of the cruise ship guests would come together and they would basically like have their shared meals or have their shared moments if people weren't doing their own entertainment. Next to that, you can basically see me now. I'm trying to add like elements that really make it look like a ship. Again, was quite of a challenge because in The Sims, we don't have a lot of items that are meant to use in a ship build, which makes sense because it's not a ship simulator. So I guess that is fair. But at the same time, I really wanted to make sure that it still had that cruise ship feeling. So we use these things from, I think it is like the industrial kit that we then manipulate it with tool to look like it's like the steam towers. And basically that little hut that you can see in front of the steam towers, that's where the captain's quarters are. And I felt like that ended up being pretty realistic. This is also one of the very fun parts where I start adding the pool, and I realized that I wanted to make this part of the build feel like one of those like tropical swimming paradises, you know, that you sometimes can go to. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those, but when I was growing up in the city that we lived in, we had like one of these big swimming pool that was like a tropical paradise with multiple slides and stuff like that. And I really wanted to give it that kind of feeling, but then on the cruise ship. And I feel like I eventually succeeded pretty well. Initially, we don't add any hot tubs because I couldn't find a space for the life of me that I could actually add it. But once I make the ship even longer in the back, like later down the line in the build, we do end up adding some hot tubs in there as well. So I feel like this area is definitely the area where your Sims can chill and like spend time outdoors. And I wanted to make sure that this was also very fit for children. So I add like the toddler slide and the splash pads and stuff because I love the idea of being on a cruise, especially in Sulani, because the weather here is basically always going to be nice, so that your Sims can actually have like a proper quote unquote beach vacation, even though they're not really on the beach. Although this cruise ship doesn't really go anywhere. So technically your Sim could also just stay on the beach. But I love the idea of your Sims actually being able to spend time outside, but also with the family. So not just your adult Sims that could hang out by the poolside, but that it was also interactive for children to hang out at. Next to that, like I said, you can find the captain's quarters, and on top of the captain's quarters, I end up adding a bar, which I actually really liked. I feel like that was such a perfect spot. Imagine yourself, like if you're having a late night drink and you can see the sun setting. I just feel like all of that ended up just looking really pretty. I also added the Moschino, like, I don't know what they're called, but like the things that you can put on the floor where your Sims can stand so that you can take photos of them. We ended up adding that in 2 different places on the main deck. So one at the bar, like at the 4th floor, and then one all the way at the front of the ship, so that if you're actually taking a cruise vacation, it is relatively easy to take really pretty pictures of your Sims. Then, other than that, let me tell you a little bit about the rest of the build. So we ended up adding 8 bedrooms in total, and every single bedroom has its own theme. So some of them are like jungle themed, some of them are like very romance or like love themed, some of them are flamingo themed, and I made sure that some of the bedrooms are very specifically set up for like a couple. There's one like honeymoon suite, but also there are like suites that are set up specifically for families. So it's basically 2 connecting rooms where one of the rooms has the children's bed and then one of the rooms has the parents' bed, and then there's like a door in between that connects them. All of the rooms have their own bathroom, so it's very easy for your Sims to not like have any privacy interruptions while they're staying on the ship. The idea behind that is that also if you're staying on the ship for a getaway, you could basically assign beds to your Sims and then lock the door for everyone but household members. This way, other guests that are staying on that getaway won't actually interrupt and come into your bedroom. And I personally really like that, especially if you're trying to do some solid storytelling. It can be so annoying if other Sims just interrupt you. So I tried to also make this build as playable as possible. In all honesty, I have not actually play tested this build, so I cannot promise everything works entirely well. Just make sure that if you download this build and there's something that doesn't work, like you can just adjust it. I tend to be very bad at playtesting my builds because I love the process of building. I love that sort of creative energy, but then once it's done, I'm usually so done with a build that I don't have the patience to actually playtest it. However, I do really want to play on this build myself. I think my Pack Legacy Sim, who's actually slowly becoming a famous musician, is gonna go on a cruise ship getaway now that this build is entirely done, because I feel like that is also a perfect fit for a Sim that is famous to actually take his girlfriend on a cruise ship getaway, and maybe they can do that as like their honeymoon. And then obviously I'm gonna playtest it, and if I do end up changing things in the build because they don't really work, I'll make sure to upload a new version to my gallery. Speaking of my gallery, this build in its current version is on my gallery already, so my gallery ID is Rosannatxt, just like my name here on YouTube. And if you want to download it, feel free to go ahead. I would love to hear if you end up playing on this build. A little note is that unfortunately, I did not know this as I was making this build, but apparently you cannot upload custom venues with a schedule. So even though I have set up a schedule and like roles and stuff for this build, basically, it doesn't actually upload to the gallery. So if you download it, you're gonna have to set up your own like custom getaway or like venue schedule. Obviously, that is also fun because that means that you can set up your own roles. You can decide what kind of Sims you want to have in here and like what kind of staff you want to have in here. My philosophy was basically that there would be somewhere between 3 to 5 staff members, and that you could basically fill out the other space with Sims staying there. There is enough beds for 16 different Sims staying there, which means that you could have 4 staff members and 16 guests. It is kind of up to you how you want to set that up. I do think with the size of this build, it might actually be really nice if you do in fact have like 16 guests staying there and like try to have the maximum amount of Sims for this getaway, because otherwise I feel like the ship might feel somewhat empty. And I think if you have actually like 16 Sims, of which 4 or 5 are staff working on this cruise ship, I do think you're actually going to have a really nice amount of people walking around. The only thing that I'm a little bit scared of with this build is that Sims are like constantly going to go to the beach and go outside rather than actually stay inside of the venue. But I hope that, you know, we'll see if we're playing here if that is actually going to happen. Also, at this point, you can see that I'm slowly starting to work on deciding which activities I want in this build. So initially, I wanted to have like just the standard things like a gym and stuff like that. And then from there, we did a little brainstorm with the chat of other things that we should add. So we ended up with, like I said, the performance stage in the restaurant. So that's a place where your Sim can also practice comedy. It's a place where your Sim can practice piano playing, stuff like that. I believe there's a guitar there as well. Then we have a kitchen and restaurant, which is a place where your Sim could practically like practice baking and cooking and stuff as well. Like that kitchen isn't exclusive to staff. There is the swimming pool, of course, where your Sim can go swimming and like work on their fitness skill. We have the bar and lounge upstairs where your Sim could technically practice like mixology and making drinks as well. We have table tennis tables on the main deck, which means that your Sim can play some games or beer pong together with other Sims. We, as you can see, I'm building right now, we have a gym, which actually includes plenty of different types of equipments for your Sims, including the new spinning wheels and the free weights that come with the Adventure Awaits pack. Next to that, we add a spa, and the spa actually consists of different parts. So we have a sauna that you saw me add earlier. We have a onsen hot spring bath, and we have a space for massages and stuff. Then there is a kids room, which like has a bunch of kids activities so that if you go here with families, kids also can work on all of their different skills. I made sure to add all the things that you need for both infant, toddlers, children, and teenagers to play on this build so that you can take whatever setting your family is in right now and go on this getaway. Next to that, I've added a cinema where I've also added all the different game consoles so your Sims can also play games together if they want. Speaking of games, I've added right across from the cinema, there is a full arcade where I've actually added the arcade machines and the dartboards and different like board games and stuff for your Sims to play. There is a yoga and meditation studio, which has a beautiful view over the ocean, and I honestly kind of wish that it was real so that I could practice meditation there. Then we have right next to the yoga and meditation studio, and kind of like in between that in the hallway, in between that and the gym, we have a smoothie and coffee bar for your Sims, which I really like the idea of, that your Sims can actually like make their own smoothies and stuff. Then on the floor of the restaurant, we also have a karaoke bar and club for your Sims to, for the Sims that want to have a nightlife. Then on the floor, like I said, on the floor of the rooms, I initially only had the bedrooms, but then I created like more space. So right now at the end of this floor, you can only see the hallway. But as we like make the ship bigger, I ended up with an entire space back there that I could still add things into. And we ended up making a Japanese Zen garden, which also doubles as a marriage location, because we realized while we were working on this build that honestly going on a cruise is low-key kind of a perfect either like marriage trip or honeymoon. But the idea that your Sims could actually go on this cruise, and potentially even like you could plan a getaway and invite all of your family. You could go like on a family cruise and then actually have your wedding, and it could be like a destination wedding or something. And that Japanese Zen garden, because it's all the way at the end of the ship, has ginormous windows, and it turned out so beautiful. Towards the end of the video, I will actually have a bunch of screenshots, like first person perspective screenshots of this cruise ship build. And honestly, the Japanese Zen garden and marriage location might be one of my by all-time favorite rooms that I've made. Even though it's so simple, it's just so absolutely stunning. Then next to that, I made sure that next to the restaurant, we have romantic dinner balconies. So there's like 2 balconies where your Sims could have a bit more of a private dinner, which could be perfect if you want to do like a proposal or something. Then next to that, we have, obviously, there's a bunch of balconies. So every bedroom has their own balcony that is also themed after that theme of the room. But next to the romantic balconies on the restaurant, we also have one with the like bubble blowers. We have a balcony where your Sims can paint, and there's a balcony where your Sims can watch the stars through a telescope at your own risk, of course. But again, I wanted to prioritize things for your Sims to do so that if you go on this cruise, like even if you're working on an aspiration or something, you could basically just continue all of those things while you're away. Because I think in The Sims, the most useful getaways or like external locations or community lots are the ones that are very like not just prettily decorated, but actually have skill building things or, activities for your Sims to do, because that's actually going to help you in your storytelling, and potentially if you're playing a challenge, like actually progress in your challenge. Then next to that, we have the viewing deck. So basically at the front of the ship, I decorated all of those common spaces as if it's like a viewing deck where your Sims can just sit on a little bench. Maybe they have like bought a coffee or something, and then they can just sit there and actually watch the view of the ship moving forward. I think this could also be like super cute if you're doing storytelling and you're taking screenshots and stuff. I think that is just one of those really realistic cruise ship experiences where you're just kind of like sitting there and just enjoying the view of the boat moving over the ocean. Obviously, this boat won't actually be moving, but with the location here in Sulani, I do actually feel like you do get those pretty views. And if you take the screenshots in the right way, it genuinely looks like this ship is actually sailing. Then lastly, I wanted to make sure that the staff quarters are also fully furnished. So if you are playing here and you have different staff, there are like beds for the captain. The captain basically has his own bedroom or their own bedroom. And then the other staff members have like a shared bedroom. They do also share a bathroom, but I tried to make it so that it's still relatively playable and your Sims don't constantly get embarrassed. And I made like an entire sort of like the hut of the captain where he's steering the ship. I tried to make that super realistic. Obviously, it's very unnecessary because the ship is not actually going anywhere, but I tried to make it as realistic as possible because I really like that idea. Next to that, other things that I did to make it realistic as possible, I think you can really see over here, is I'm making the bathroom and then I basically just copy paste it to every single room. Because if there's one thing that is very common on cruise ships, but just in general in hotels, is that room layout or like bathrooms and stuff are very often just a copy paste of each other. Like it's just a repetition. So in this speed build, I also only kept one because all the other bathrooms are basically just the same. Like I said, the bedrooms are themed, so those will differ because I do like the idea of you being able to pick a bedroom that kind of matches your Sims storyline or your Sims personality. But I do in the end like the fact that most of the layouts are very similar. It's just like the wallpaper and the type of bed and stuff that's different, which I do feel like is also pretty realistic to have that change over time or like have that change per room. Next to that, I don't think there is like a lot that I still want to share. I tried to add like small details as well, like little numbers on the wall next to the hotel rooms, or like the rooms on this floor. I also tried to add like emergency signs and fire extinguishers and stuff like that on every floor. Again, to really give that feeling of this is a public lot, this is like a space that your sim is visiting. I tried to add like a luggage storage in the entrance hallway. All of those things, I really wanted to make sure that if you're playing on this lot or if you're visiting this lot, that it genuinely feels like, I don't know, like a real cruise ship, I guess. So I guess for everyone who's ever been on a cruise ship, let me know in the comments down below how I did, if you do recognize this. I've only been on one cruise, and other than that, it's basically just based off of videos and stuff that I've seen. So I would love to hear if you think that I did a good job with making this cruise ship. Also, if you do end up downloading it, let me know in the comments down below. I always love to know when people are actually playing in my build. Like I said, it's uploaded on my gallery. My gallery ID is just Rosannatxt. And if you ever want to come hang out on my Twitch streams, I stream every Monday, Tuesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. CEST, and it's also just Rosannatxt on Twitch. I also do other types of streams like co-working and sometimes some variety gaming, so altogether just a good vibe if you want to come hang out. And yeah, I really enjoyed building this. It was definitely one of the more challenging builds that I've done, but I'm happy that we completed it, and I can't wait to actually play in it myself. I'm gonna let you guys enjoy the rest of the speed build with just some chill lo-fi music in the background, but if you have any questions or just, you know, anything that you'd like to share with me, feel free to comment, like this video, and if this is the first time that you're ever seeing a video of mine, feel free to check out my channel. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone!